every Sunday and a rebroadcast every Monday morning at 9 a.m. My name, as always, is Eugene Anangwe. Now tonight on the program we put a focus on a key issue that has many people talking, and that is the issue of early childhood development, ECD as many of us know it, and of course the matter of malnutrition that has been in the lips of many people as far as the leadership retreat is concerned. And of course we want to make sense of this particular issue, noting that research does show that a child's brain develops faster in the first 2 to 3 years of their lifetime, and of course if nothing is done to help them grow as fast as it is supposed to be during this period, then it is difficult for them to be able to develop better once they pass this particular stage. And of course on the program I have very able panelists who are going to help us understand this particular issue. We have Dr. Anita Asimwe of the National Early Childhood Development Program Coordinator. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Thank you. And of course we also have Yvonne Omurungi of Gikuriro program. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
What does it mean? I mean, for me, it's a word that is really catchy, and I would love to understand. What does it mean? What do you do at your program?
Yeah, Gikuriro program is a USAID-based project that deal with integrated nutrition and WASH. Basically, at the beginning, the project was called INWA, Integrated Nutrition and WASH,
yes.
But for us, it didn't mean anything.
Right.
So we looked at a name in Rwanda that will be reflecting what we want to do. Gikuriro, yes. We want our children to grow well.
To grow and develop.
To grow and develop well.
Perfect. Fair enough. I think we know of Imbuto Foundation, and we have Geraldine Omutesi, who is the Deputy Director of Imbuto Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. Now, ladies, before we even get further, this issue of early childhood development has a lot of other things intertwined in it, and that is the issue the growth or the development of this child that we're talking about. And at the 15th National Leadership Retreat, this issue did come up, and I know all of us watched what President Paul Kagame did say, and he didn't seem happy, didn't seem amused at all on how this issue of malnutrition is being handled. This is going to help us set the pace for our conversation. Let's just take a look, just in case some did not see this or do not know what we're talking about. Let's have a listen to what President Paul Kagame did say about this issue of malnutrition. Then we'll go on from there.
Malnutrition usanga twavuze ibindi, twavuze umutekano, twavuze ibiki, ahantu hose tuye imbere kuki kuri malnutrition twajya mu banyuma. Ukubera iki? Mu mirire, mu migaburire, abana bacu noneho bikajya no mu bakuru, habuze iki? Iki umuzavuga ngo habuze amafaranga, habuze ibyo kurya, habuze iki? Habuze kubyumva, kumenya ko cyari ikibazo. Habuze iki? Ndababaza, nimwe mbaza mayors, ibyo mvuga murabibona cyangwa ntabwo mubibona?
Right, that was President Paul Kagame talking about this issue of malnutrition in Rwanda. Of course, we know that he was specifically directing it to the mayors when he did point at the mayors directly. But I want us to put ourselves in the shoes and the position of these mayors who are being asked this question, what is missing? Dr. Simwe, if you were the one who's being directly asked this question by President Paul Kagame on this issue of malnutrition as a person in charge of this early childhood development program, what would you tell him?
Well, I would say most importantly is the sensitization of the people, the parents, and the people of Rwanda that we serve. Quite a good number have not yet understood the magnitude of malnutrition and its impact. So when we do something and the people that we are packaging and we are working for and we are working with do not understand the importance and the impact, there is no way we can sustain what we're doing. So one thing for sure is that the people do not yet understand how bad it is.
So Mwabuzichi, to make the people understand how bad this issue is.
Exactly, and that takes me to the very second point. And now, as you said, if I was the mayor, what exactly, Nichi Twabuze, indeed, as you put it. And it is more towards working with the people where they are in their homes. Because you're not going to be able to teach people and they be able to understand, and you carry it on, and very importantly, involve them in actually interventions that will give us good results. If you don't go where they are at, that is in their homes, in the midugudu where they stay, and work with them. So in other words, we need to go where the people are.
You need to go where the
involve
people are,
them.
and involve them.
Yes.
How about you, Yvonne? I mean, what particular answer would you be giving? I want you to put yourself in the shoes of the mayors, not as a mayor, but as your institution. What sort of answers would you be giving the president on this issue?
Before I give an answer, I will go back maybe at the causes of malnutrition. Why do we have malnutrition? So for me, malnutrition it's about the intake, the dietary intake, and also on the other side, the health. So among the underlying cause of malnutrition, we have food, health, and care. That's where the three of us maybe have to intervene.
Right.
We intervene in the food availability, in teaching malnutrition, in health care of the child. They intervene in the care. When we say the care of the child, it's how the child is fed, how the child is taught, how the child is cared for, how the child is made able to grow well. So in terms of nutrition for us, we are saying the food, but we have nutrition-specific interventions. We have nutrition-sensitive interventions. We have to be able to provide for this child, to prevent, to be able to make food available at the household level. We have to be able to make the mother or the parent prepare a diet that is proper and can make the child grow. It's, you know, when you go back again on when the malnutrition starts or when the stunting starts, the peak, the very sensitive period is about when you finish exclusive breastfeeding and you introduce complementary feeding.
Right.
So the complementary feeding has to be adequate in quality, in quantity, the frequency. So all that is something people don't know in the household, and that's we focus on that to teach household parents how to prepare a diverse diet, and also the frequency. That is one key aspect. But you know, malnutrition is multi-sectoral.
Correct.
It's multi-sector. We have ECD people, we have medical people, you have agriculture people,
the policy makers,
right. Yes, and we have economic strengthening. The household has to be able to afford the food. So it's and also we have these long-term actions that involve women empowerment, that involve poverty eradication, that involve you know. It's long-term. We have immediate interventions we can do. We have medium-term and long-term.
Right, but still, the issue would be.
Eugene,
yes, I'm going to bring you in, but I want to take Yvonne on this because the key thing here is the president says we have spoken so many times about this issue. Why are we making so much progress on security, so much progress on other sectors, but we fail or lag behind on malnutrition? You say that there are so many other things that need to be done, or some initiatives that are actually being done, long-term, medium-term, and short-term. But the question still is, what is missing for them to yield results, for us to not talk about this issue of malnutrition?
I think, as Dr. Anita said, we need to talk to each other. So this is multi-sectoral problem, and it needs multi-sectoral solutions. I can't sit on my own as a medical doctor and say I will deal with the health issues, I will treat malnutrition, I will prevent all the cases already there. It will not work alone. So it has to go with the ECD, the child growth. It has to go with the Minister of Agriculture, where where do we get the food? So food availability, food consumption, and also all the other aspects related. If the child is well nourished but gets sick, he loses all the benefits from the nutrition.
Right.
So I have to deal with all the intervention that improve the child's survival.
At the multi-sectoral level.
Yes.
I know you want to come in, but before you come in, just to be fair on the opening remarks, I want us to have Geraldine also. I want to hear your mind on this. Basically, the same question. Mwabuzichi, what do you not have to be able to deal with this issue? You have been dealing with the issues of motivation of young people, dealing with issues of gender empowerment. And the question of malnutrition is still here. Geraldine.
Yes, I think we don't have to see nutrition as a standalone issue. We have to consider it as part of the early childhood development, because nutrition is among the 5 components of the early childhood development. So we have also to think about a child is from a family. So what is needed is mostly to think about a family, and for Imbuto Foundation and the other partners, we are trying to first of all look at the family. Normally we call early childhood development and family program. Mm-hmm. So to be able to make sure that we are also reaching the family, and this has been like a call from our high-level leadership when Her Excellency the First Lady of Rwanda launched ECD Center in Kayonza in 2013. So she called upon all the parents to think about this early critical age. And this is where you understand that if I'm not thinking about the nutrition and other components, my child will not be able to grow. And this is like a dream of every child, every parent. And what I may say about the holistic model, we have also to think about, if we are talking about early stimulation and early learning, it goes with different aspects: nutrition, health, hygiene, and others. Mm-hmm. So we have to think about how do we teach the parents about all these components, not only nutrition.
Right. So Geraldine, when are we going to be able to finish thinking of how well we will train these parents on the importance of these issues? Because we seem to be still at the preparation stage, the thinking stage. When are we going to implement these things that we're saying we need to?
I think we have to think about the way we teach our communities. Mm-hmm. We are saying that early childhood development is something new, but if you go back in our culture, you will find that how there were some things that the community were doing in terms of protecting a pregnant woman and how they were growing the child. So we have to revisit the approach we are using to sensitize our population. I have a colleague of mine, when he's going to teach about ECD and early childhood development, he's using a very simple example. He's using like a bag where you get rice, a rice bag, and which has balls. This is to show that how the brain of a child is at the beginning when the child is born. So by doing early stimulation, early learning, by ensuring the nutrition, by assuring the health issues and so forth, you're making sure that that brain is growing and really is getting better to have an intelligent person. But if we go to this parent, and sometimes they don't have, I think that we are using the approaches that are helping them to understand the importance. Let's say if in the National Strategic for Transformation, we are talking about how we are going to have people who are knowledgeable and who are going to drive this vision we have in 2050, we have to have people who are really empowered, who are really bright, who are really bright to
to be able to drive that vision.
able to drive our vision.
Right.
So if we go with that approach to the parent, every parent will always look at, am I really okay with the nutrition of my child? Do I have to go to learn about our stimulation to the center? Are we involving men? So we have to revisit the approaches we are using.
Yeah. Right. Dr. Simwe, I mean, she seems to be poking holes at the approaches that you're using at your program, that they don't seem to be effective, and you need to change your approach. Is it something that you agree on?
In a way, I'll go back to what I said earlier. It's the involvement of the parents. The parents, if they don't own this, we will never get there. If they don't understand why we are doing what we are doing, they just won't do it. And so we can't do it on scale.
So what approach are you using that will make them understand?
One, what we're looking at is for sure in each village of this nation, because if you're going to do it with them, then we have to find them where they are. So in every mudugudu of this nation, we have to have ECD services provided there. And Geraldine put it so well. She talked about the pillars of early childhood development. And of those is nutrition, among others, that we are embarking on for this discussion so much, but also hygiene. And that's what I wanted to jump onto. You could have the food. You could prepare it well. But if it's not in hygiene conditions, then it would be as if you didn't have it. Because with poor hygiene, you definitely are going to have diarrhea. And diarrhea is one key that will make the nutrients not be absorbed. So there are key things we have to tackle and get on to make sure that the people understand the impact. And I'll say this again and again until we have people understanding the impact and how bad malnutrition is. So we have to make sure we have ECD services in all villages of this nation. What that means is that we're going to need very close collaboration at the village level. You know, in the villages we have people who have volunteered to be chef of the mudugudu, but we also have community health care workers. We have what we call inshuti z'umuryango. These you can call them friends of the family. And we have others within the village. So all these people have a role to play. And Dr. Yvonne mentioned that this is multi-sectorial. That is for sure. Yes. No one can do it alone and succeed.
Yes. They have a role to play, you say. Yes, they have a role to play, but experts in this issue of ECD feel that we have left this work in the hands of people who have no skills. They do not have the capacity. They don't understand even these things that we're talking about. Yet we're saying that they have a role to play. I want to understand, yes, we want to have ECD centers in all sectors, but what are we doing about the training, the capacity building? Are they informed? Do they have the facilities? Do they have the resources? What is the state of affairs today as we speak?
First of all, let me touch on the ECD centers. We don't necessarily have to have a block in every village. As we speak, we have slightly above 4,000 ECD facilities, if I may, in our country. That is still at the low end. But let me pause a moment here and actually be grateful to the civil society entities that have done it this far, because they've mainly been at the forefront to do that. And some of these are in people's homes. So it's not that we have to build up a facility in a village. So some parents they've opened up their homes and they have agreed to receive children in their village to offer the space in their homes so that children can be coming. Very importantly, where it has happened, the parents in that village rotate. They do rotate. So today Anita is taking care of the children. Tomorrow Yvonne does. The other day Geraldine does.
But with what skills? With what skills?
Exactly. So the skills, I mentioned about the civil society entities that have been at the forefront. There's been training that has been offered to these parents. It is basics. I want to mention that now a little bit back into health, if I may. When we started the community health care work program, some of the reasons that came out why it wouldn't work is because these are people who did go mortality and infant mortality. So there is basic training that you can offer these people. What is most important is the willingness to serve the others, because these are people serving as volunteers. And so even these mothers, mainly mothers, but we would want to see more fathers involved. So far, it's still more mothers, but we call upon fathers too. So these parents receive a basic training on what does it mean, how do you take care of a child, how do you prepare their meal, and so on and so forth. So we are counting on ensuring that wherever the services are to be provided, definitely people will be trained, at the very basics on what to offer. But something else that is very, very important, I mentioned the coordination at the village, but what is also very important is the follow-through by the cell level. Because after the village, the next level we have is the cell.
Yes.
If we have the cell capable to follow through the activities happening in the village, then indeed we'll know where to put which effort. Because the reason why a child might be malnourished in Nyabihu might be very different from why a child is malnourished in Burera. So we have to really zoom in and go deep down into specific areas and know what are the reasons here, and then be able to tackle it specifically.
So at what stage are you in that vision? It seems as a very ambitious plan. At what stage are you?
I would say we are at the integrated approach of nutrition as part and parcel of ECD. We are at the very, very beginning. Yeah, but we are, as part of this 7-year government program, we are looking at reaching definitely 2024 when we have covered the entire country. But we are at the very beginning,
the infant stage.
At the very infant stage.
Right,
yeah.
it requires ECD.
Before I maybe talk about what we do in nutrition, I would like to say something where I don't necessarily 100% agree with you when you say that the approaches have failed. The approaches didn't fail. Maybe they are not progressing at the pace we want, but there have been progress in reducing malnutrition in this country for the last 10 years. We came from 44 to 38, and this 38% of stunting is numbers we have from 2015. I'm sure today, with all the measures that have been put in place, we have progressed. So,
is the progress good enough for us to tap ourselves on the back?
No.
Because this is what your statement seems to be. Like, much as you're attacking us, we have made progress. Come on, appreciate the little
we have made progress, but we need to make more progress.
And what is stopping you from making more?
It's not that we didn't do anything. Something has been done, but what can we do best for now to be able to reduce even from the 38% to 15%, where we will be a low malnutrition country, a low stunting country.
One of the challenges you said is you don't speak to each other, don't seem to be speaking to each other as far as the sectors are concerned. So why? What is the issue?
So as you know, we said, I will repeat, it's a multi-sectoral problem.
Yes.
So as Gikuriro, we intervene in one area. As in Buto, they will intervene in one area. The government intervene in policies and affecting, implementing partner geographically, also in terms of technical, So like for us in nutrition, for Gikuriro, we focus on nutrition and wash with overlapping area that are gender integration and also BCC. I will maybe come back on the BCC, which they all mentioned. It's very crucial because we need to change. Yeah. We need household, we need parents, we need population to change the behavior in the way they do feed the children, in the way they acquire hygiene practices. So for us, on the nutrition, we have an integrated approach where we say, let's treat the cases that are already there. That is one. But mostly let's prevent at community level the malnutrition cases. We have this model where we use village nutrition schools. We enroll a certain number of beneficiaries from low-income households and those who have malnourished children. So you teach them how to prepare a balanced diet. We give them nutrition messages. They come together. That will cover in terms of knowledge and skills in terms of feeding practices. We have also another component where they might know how to do that, but they don't have the food.
Right.
So we include the agriculture component where we say farmer feed learning school. They come and learn technique, agricultural technique, biointensive. That will allow them to produce the food they will be using. Then we say they might have the food, but they will not produce everything. So we need to include the aspect of economic availability. So we put them in the saving groups, what we call to save some money and get access to funds that can allow them to buy the food they can't produce. And then we have the community health clubs where they learn the health issues, hygiene, sanitation, to make sure that at household level they adopt proper hygiene practices, proper feeding practices, they have improved latrine, they have hand washing stations, and the child is fed according to infant and young child nutrition
all this
standards.
Is available.
All this is, that's what we do in the Gikuriro program, and then we have the messages, because you can't, we target maybe the youth, we are piloting in schools to make sure the youth are also involved, because these are future parents. So if they know already from the beginning, they have very good feeding practices, very good hygiene practices, it will happen in the household.
Right.
So this is our integrated approach, and also we reinforce the gender aspect, the gender integration. We are, in the groups we are working with at community level, mostly are women. We want men to come. We are teaching women, but yet they are not the one to decide about the budget allocation in the household. So we want the men to be there to make sure the budget is allocated for nutrition purposes.
Right.
Yes.
Geraldine.
I wanted to tackle on the issue of skills. Sometimes we tend to think that in the rural areas, people don't have skills. But even in urban areas, and those people who have degrees and degrees, don't know how to tackle the nutrition issues. Let me give you an example. If you go in a shop and you buy a bread, how many people are able to look at what nutrients are in this bread? I'm talking about the rural, the urban areas. So, but in the rural areas, there are also a way of teaching these parents with skills they're able to have. For example, in our program, we have what we call the positive parenting.
Yes.
So we are teaching all the parents on these developmental milestones of a child, and how you have to make sure the nutrition is ensured, health, and other components I was talking about. But we don't have to think that they don't have skills. So far, we reached, for us, we are using the ECD model, ECD center-based model, where we have people who have been trained in delivering ECD services. When we are talking about ECD services, people have to understand that it's integrated services, including the nutrition and so forth. So they are trained and run the center and also provide services. So this center is serving also people in sectors and cells. And we have community-based ECDs, as Dr. Anita was talking about. These are ECD centers run by the community, run by the people in the community, and they're rotating. And we have also the home-based ECD, as Dr. Anita was talking about. So far, we reached around 8,000 of parents who are coming for learning this positive parenting. So the positive parenting is not about the rural area, it's also about the urban areas.
Yeah.
So
Right.
the skills doesn't matter. So we have to find a way, this is what I was talking about, and I agree with Yvonne that approaches were not failing, but maybe we need to come back about the innovative way of including all these people in terms of increasing knowledge about ECD and including nutrition and fighting against stunting.
So when you say that we need to do that, because very shortly I want us to bring in our viewers who are watching us. I'm just going to be reading. I'll stand and read the tweets that are coming in. I'm told that there are really many, but I'm going to read them in just a bit. So when you say that these are the things that we need to do, this is a cross-cutting question for all of you. I want to understand because the key question still here is, listening to you and Yvonne and Dr. Anita here, there seems to be a lot of great plans and a lot of things that still need to be done. And the question is still, what is missing for us to do those things? What is missing for us to implement them? Is it money?
No.
Is it food?
I think the missing part was about coordinating each other, and now
you're not coordinating.
And now we have a coordinating body, and there was an ECD mapping report, which was done, and to map who is doing what and where and how. And this, I think, we help the coordinating agency to come up with an approach how everyone can know, for example, what Gikuriro is doing and what Imbuto is doing, and how we are complementing each other in our community for the better of our children. Right. So I'm not saying that the coordination was not well done, but we needed an agency that is always making sure that all people in the community are coordinated and they are complementing each other. So you know that this is where the civil society organizations are coming in, because the government cannot do everything. So we are there to come with innovative ways, looking at different gaps that are in the community, and we needed like an agency to coordinate all these interventions in the community, right, and to make sure that the local government, the local institutions are also aware of what each partner is delivering in the community. If I have someone who is doing nutrition, for example, and you have to understand that Dr. Yvonne was talking about how medically they are treating malnutrition. And if Imbuto is not a medical-based organization, but we are delivering the community education, how can we complement each other to make sure that the parents are okay?
Coordination.
Yes,
right.
At all levels.
At all levels. Allow me to just go and read some of the tweets that we already have so far. The hashtag is InFocusRW. All you need to do is simply add that hashtag. The reason why I always ask you to add the hashtag InFocusRW, it helps us to be able to track your tweets quite easily and be able to sample them right here on the program. Aristak Ngoga. I've always not been able to read your name properly, but this is what you said. I think you're paraphrasing G. Mutesi. And of course, the point here is people don't have skills about nutrition in both rural and urban areas. Of course, that is a very important issue that needs to be dealt with. A good friend of mine, Kaiwanda Julian, says that good point on skills, Umutesi. Many of these services tend to focus on rural communities, but many urban settlers lack similar knowledge on nutrition and even more on ECD. Of course, President Paul Kagame did mention that even adults are now malnourished. And it begs the question, how? Why? Gute.
Actually, before I get to the adults,
yes,
because our main worry right now is the stunting, the chronic malnutrition for children under 5. And when we look at the data, there's the famous 38% horrible, unfortunate beat. But of that, 5% of it is actually children of parents who have high education level. So I'm assuming as we have this conversation, most of the people following us are actually highly educated or belong to such families. So 5% of those children were actually from such families. So not only do they have the food, there was an assumption that they have the knowledge, which was definitely very wrong.
So how do you explain this? How do you explain
even
this?
In the highest economic status, yes, the highest quintile in the economic status.
And that was 20%.
20%, yes.
Yes.
So
Yes, we are reporting a problem upon another problem. So what are we going to do about it? Geraldine?
Again, I was talking about the awareness and skills, and understand even from the perspective of nutrition, how many people understand what nutrition is and how it is complementing the body shape or the intelligence and the brain development. So again, it comes back to the understanding of these issues. You know, for us, we think that eating is just eating, but you have to eat with a purpose. Sometimes people say that you become what you eat. So we have to make sure that this knowledge is also shared with the community, but on the way they can understand that. For example, you may think that everyone knows about the diet they have to give to the kids. Do you think that everyone knows that the breastfeeding is very important to the children? And I remember when we had that 1,000 days campaign. This is when people started to realize that actually breastfeeding is very essential. And when let me come back to the workplace. People who are working in this in urban areas, they think that after I go back to work, I will not be able to breastfeed my child. But there's a way you do it. You have to pump the breast milk and you leave it with your baby. So we have to always educate, and you know the behavior change is taking place. Taking long.
Behavior takes time to the change takes time.
It takes time.
It takes time.
So we need to be
very quickly.
Dr. Simo, do you have an answer to that?
Yes. One thing that we have to do is to make sure people understand the impact. Now, if a mother or a father knows that if a pregnant mother, for example, knows that how they feed and how they behave is going to affect even their unborn child, and they know the impact, then they're definitely going to react.
That's how are you going to do that?
How we're going to do that is exactly what we were saying earlier, is making sure we educate. Now, we have different people in our population, so we have to make sure it's targeted education for a targeted group. I earlier on spoke about someone in Nyabihu or Burera. You might as well put in someone in the city of Kigali, right in the heart. So we have to target these people differently. For example, if we talked of the 5% highly educated people of Rwanda having stunted children, we have to make sure we package messages for that population. We need to be able to explain to mothers that 10% of children are actually born stunted. They have to know how you feed when you're pregnant. You know, one glass of wine is bad enough. You know, one smoke. We need to get to that detail, but make sure we target this information based on who we are telling. So it will be very, very important. Okay. I like coming back a little bit to hygiene. And again, speaking in this forum this evening, I think of people, and I want to throw out a question to everyone watching and following us. For those, for example, who drive, when you reach at home and enter your house, what do you do first? Do you get to wash your hands first? Do you think about the chances that your steering wheel is actually very dirty? That is a quick question. And would maybe a mother forget to wash her hands first and carry their baby first, because the baby is going to come laughing?
That's what she said about behavior change.
So it's
right?
behavior change.
Right. Let me bring in another. There's several of them coming through. Let's just take a look at this. We have one from at Vanessa_RUK. What has the coordinating agency found out and solved so far? What is needed to enhance the coordination? The coordinating agency, Dr. Simwe, what have you found and solved so far? This is a very direct question.
Exactly what we were talking about. One, we have to make sure we have found out that coordination wasn't happening all the way from umudugudu level, where these parents are, up to the national level.
So what have you done so far?
What we're doing is drawing a strategic plan that brings everyone on board, clearly stating who is responsible for what. And then the implementation plan of this will be following through each and every one individually. And working with all the other sectors, as we carry on from quite a number of years, back, something that had been dropped is actually imihigo that are for coordinating. So making sure that if we have a task to achieve, the three of us, and Anita fails and we don't achieve, then Anita will be answerable. So I cannot sit and say Geraldine didn't do her part. I have to make sure I do my part, and so on and so forth. Right. So in terms of accountability, we are going to factor in once again indicators that are from a coordination perspective.
So do you have timelines when Yvonne is going to be signing High Mihigo? Do you have timelines when Geraldine will sign High Mihigo?
Effective next year. That is July.
July.
So it's starting with July.
So between now and July, they can do whatever they want to do?
Between now and July is when we are putting everything together. The coordination board is very new. It's still a baby, so it's just coming up to make sure all this happens.
Okay.
But effective next year.
I would like to add that we had coordination for nutrition at the district level until the village level of the district plan for elimination of malnutrition. That worked more or less.
That will need to be revamped.
That will need to be consolidated with the structures that the national ECD program is. So the putting them together, this is something that will reinforce the coordination.
I think there was also something else that was done to make something that is clear about the package. When we talk about the ECD package, so now the partners know what we are talking about. We are not talking about nutrition alone. We are not talking about the nursery schools, because people used to to have confusion between the creche, the nursery, the what. So so now it's clear that the ECD is the integrated services, including early stimulation, hygiene, nutrition, child protection. So all these partners who are working in this area, we make sure that when we are talking about ECD programs, this is what we are talking about.
It's a full package.
This has been done.
That brings me to a very important issue, Dr. Sim. I mean, that I was having a chat with a friend of mine earlier, and they were complaining how the issue of play is missing in the development of children. If you go to most of our schools, play is not really given the significance as much as the result. Pay at a park for you to be able to take your child to be able to play. And so the question is, how is it that your coordinating agency or group or institution has allowed this to be done over years as far as the education system is concerned? You need to be standing up and telling the education people, put this up.
That is very true, and we are actually going to do that. Once again, we're still a baby. The coordination body.
How old is the body?
How many months now? 4, 5? A few months old now. But anyhow, that's not the reason. That aside, one of the things that we are already putting in place are regulations on how you run an early childhood development.
So you're going to be visiting these institutions?
So we're going to be visiting these institutions, of course understanding that they are already existent, but we will agree on a timeline. So the regulations will be saying exactly what one has to fulfill. So that will be including the play, as you say, but all the other components, and most importantly, the people that are taking care of these children while at a nursery or kindergarten have to have the skills to do it. So that is something very key. So we'll be agreeing and setting ourselves timelines with these facilities on how soon they will be done, making sure everything is in place. So, of course, then we'll come back to make sure it's in place. So either it's in place or it will have to be closed until everything is in place. So this is something we are going to work with very closely, because most of the nurseries, kindergartens are actually put in place by private sector. So private sector is one of our key players and we're going to be doing this together.
Working together.
But before, Eugene, before
we need to really bring in our viewers as well,
Okay.
and then we'll be able to insert that over that particular issue. We have one tweet right here from @CC Lotuk. I think that's how I read it. Does ECD team conducted a nutritional casual analysis? Rwanda nutrition issues are unique. Dr. Simo, this one is actually directed to you. Have you carried out a nutrition analysis of so far? This is what we have. This is a challenge in Kamembe. This is a challenge in this other area of the country.
We have done that, but in a number of years ago. I think what we have now is 3 years old. And part of what we've planned to do is actually, again, that working very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, we are putting in components also of nutrition to be able to understand in each and every village in each and every district, what are the particularities. But going forward, through information systems, we are going to be collecting data regularly to inform us.
Right.
Definitely this is one key component. And I thank...
Geraldine, you wanted to jump in?
Yes, I was going to talk about the issue of the play. In the positive...
Sorry, George, before we go to the play, on that question, on Gikuriro, we have conducted a baseline where we have nutrition data for 8 districts we are working in. And the data is, the results are almost similar to what we have in the DHS.
Yeah.
So they are not... so this is only on as part of our beneficiary assessment, but the results are almost the same in terms of stunting level, in terms of feeding practices, in terms of minimal acceptable diet, food household that are food insecure or food secure. So we have those data at...
and you feel that it is the same as what is already there?
It reflects the reality of what we have.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, Geraldine.
Yeah,
You're talking about the issue of play.
I was going to add to what Dr. Anita is saying about the play. In the positive parenting, we are also teaching parents how to use play in stimulating the brain. And you will be surprised to see how even in the rural areas, they are doing what we call the local made toys. And they know how to play with their kids. They know which kind of play they're going to do to stimulate the brain. But I was going to come back to the urban areas. People are going and buy the toys for their kids. They're just buying different materials and different toys, but people don't know what kind of toy I'm going to buy for my child. Is this toy helping my child to help developing the use of hands? You know, we have some children who are not able to take a cup of tea. You have always to help. So we have to educate the population on this kind of issues. So you have to know what kind of toys I have to buy for my child.
That will challenge the child when they're even playing with it.
Yes, and you have to pray with them so that they can see how you do it. So the prayer is really important, and these ECD centers, Imbuto Foundation is helping the parents to understand what kind of play do you do with your kids and what kind of toys you are buying for your kids.
Any example?
Sometimes people are buying, for example, the guns.
The guns.
For a child. And you don't know that you're instilling in that children...
aggressivity.
Sorry?
To be aggressive.
Yeah, to be very aggressive.
Right.
So why not buying, for example, these toys they're using to build a house so they can become engineers? Why not playing with, the ball with them so they can become football players, and our national team can maybe
have a basketball
and develop social skills.
Yes.
Right. Let's see other tweets. I'm seeing several of them are actually still flowing in right here. Right. This one is from Barack Jean, who says, today's In Focus is what we do. Question is, how are the real issues being addressed? Malnutrition is real, and to fight it, there is need for a change of mindset. Does any of these programmers do anything of the sort with parents? Handouts have proven unsustainable. Every time I hear this issue of mindset has to be changed, I hear it a lot. And I ask myself, which school teaches people how to change your mindset? Where can they go where there's a subject called mindset change? It seems to be one of those words, like I hear of capacity building. A word that sometimes people say it's actually a vague word. So when are we going to be in a situation where we're saying that we have actually changed our mindsets? What are the tools? What are the means? How are we doing it, Dr. Simwe?
In a way that brings me back to understanding the why. And let me use the example. If a parent knows that the period from conception of their little one until 2 years of age,
yes.
If this child is not well fed,
yes.
Actually up to almost 60% of their brain will be affected. Yes. And this will be irreversible. Meaning this child of yours, when they start going to school, they'll only be able to be productive to less than otherwise would by 10%. As they grow to work, when they are working, again their productivity is going to be less. So if you put it in monetary terms, if your child is running a business, their productivity is going to be at least 10% less than they would otherwise make. And so on and so forth. This affects your child. This inevitably will affect your family, because if your child doesn't produce as they would when they are adults, then as a parent you're going to have to carry on helping them. Inevitably, when they make decisions on their families, they won't make good enough decisions. And this cycle will go on and on. It will be intergenerational. So we will pass it on. Stunting itself is not genetically passed on, but because it affects the development of our brain and our productivity, it ends up being intergenerationally transmitted, if I may. So if parents understand, then the minds will change. They will inevitably change. That's why, for me, the underlying component is educating the parents with an intent of them understanding what the impact is of malnutrition, of poor hygiene, and all these other elements. Then inevitably they are going to change how they're thinking.
And that's what we do in the groups that we are supporting. We are in the 5 districts. We are supporting like around 30,000 groups, members of the household. When they meet for the nutrition schools, that's what we tell them. You teach them and you show them the difference that they can make from how they used to do to what we are teaching now.
Is it working? Is it working?
It is working.
How do you know it's working?
Because we have rehabilitated within 12 days like almost 4,000 children across the 5 districts. Let me give you a simple example about meal frequency. You go into a rural area, a household, they don't have, let's say, electricity. So it means they sleep around 7. The child has eaten at 6. The next meal will be, in some rural area, 8, 10, they don't have a habit of breakfast. Sometimes they don't have breakfast. So it will be from 6 to the next day, maybe 10, 11. This is too long for a child. So you show him that this child can have in between another meal. So instead of having 2 meals per day, he should have like 3 to 4, or maybe 3 with 2 snacks. So when they see a change that the child is able to have that meal frequency which is adequate, the child is thriving well, the mind is set. It changes.
So, Eugene, there is something I want that Dr. Yvonne said earlier on, to make it very clear from the tweet. What we're looking at is actually not handouts. Because what Dr. Yvonne and her team, what they do is actually they invite the parents to come with their food. So it's their food stuff they bring, and they show them how best to prepare it. So it's not that they bring them food, it's rather their own, but they teach them how do you best prepare it to make sure that you get the most out of it in terms of nutrition. Yes, out of what you have.
I'm going to come back to all of you for These tweets very quickly. One of them is from Ngoga again. He says, to eradicate malnutrition in Rwanda, more focus should be put in educating people and investing in both home ECD as well as increasing ECD centers at the local level. A good friend of the show, Sandrine Umutoni, says addressing ECD is essential in helping build a society of empowered and well-rounded citizens who will be the driving force of a successful nation strategy for transformation. All right, this is a very important point right there. Another one here, very interesting one. Okay, we've just lost that one over there. Let me see very quickly. We're going to be coming back on that. But of course, before we come back there, we have just about 2 minutes to go. And it's important for us to understand moving forward as we leave this show today, as we leave this studio, what message are you giving Rwandans? What message are you giving the head of state who seems frustrated? I know we're not doing it for him, but for the nation. What kind of answers will you be giving them as the coordinating authority here?
Really, it's working together. Working together to ensure that the people understand how bad malnutrition is and how important early childhood development is to the future of our nation.
Working together.
Yeah.
Yvonne.
Yeah. So for me also, I will go that way, involvement of all stakeholders. Nobody can do anything alone. We are in together and we have to work together to succeed.
Okay, we have to work together.
If we want to really access success for the national strategy for transformation, we have to focus on our childhood development.
Right. We must focus on early childhood development. Of course, these are some of the important points coming out from our panelists over there. And of course, I want to say thank you so much to all of you who have actually been tweeting us. More Love at More Love Kigali. The child's health is directly related to the mother's health. It is always before conception. These and more tweets, keep them coming. We're actually trending at #1 over there. Keep them coming. Let's keep the conversation going. Of course, it's very, very important that we have these types of conversations, because the moment we stop talking about them, we tend to assume that everything is going on well. Of course, it's a challenge to all of us. Let's do this. As always, my name is Eugene, and
Many people have been asking what we have been up to. Well, we have told the different stories from decision makers, but this time round it will be different. We will be getting head to head with various influencers and get to the heart of the matter. It is not an easy ride, but we'll endeavor to get you there. It will be insightful, informative, and at times we will agree to disagree, because we are the bridge to your leaders.